Hey, what's going on out there, YouTube family? This is Sammy Legger here representing Team JVS, back here again for another movie review. This is a exclusive movie review for an Apple TV Plus feature called Greyhound. This is starring Tom Hanks. I'll read the synopsis for you really briefly. In a thrilling World War II story inspired by actual events, Captain Ernie Krause leads an international convoy of 37 ships on a treacherous mission across the Atlantic to deliver thousands of soldiers and much needed supplies to an allied forces. What did I think about this movie? I thought it was amazing. Honestly, the very beginning, it sets this very weird tone because I was kind of like, okay, this is gonna be like a, the first thing you see is like Ernie and his person he really loves, really cares about, and he just kind of has cordial conversation. But even before that, like you see him, downstairs in his barracks and just kind of like, look like he's praying, look like he's kind of getting himself ready, or look like he's getting himself to go to bed. And then it transitions. And from that point on, after, that conversation he has with his loved one goes away, it just builds and builds and builds. And the intensity and the anxiety, it's free flowing. So I gotta give, normally I don't do this, but I feel like I have to, just because there's a lot of credit that I gotta give all over the place. So this was directed by an Aaron Schneider. He's only made one other film before this one. Was called Get Low. I think it was starring Robert Duvall as well as Bill Murray. That was like 2009. So this is like 11 years later. This is the first movie he's come out with. And he did a phenomenal job. He did such a really good job of building tension and intrigue. I haven't seen a good warship or submarine film in a long time. Gene Hackman, Denzel Washington days, long time. Not a really good one. And this one was very interesting because, it was really fuzzy on the history aspect of it. But there was never a moment that I wasn't feeling engaged. And that a big part of that is the blocking and the pacing, and the positioning of the cinematography. So the cinematography for this one was done by Shelley Johnson. Most notable things that he's done was The Wolfman, the Captain America, the first Captain America movie, and Dago, which Dago was excellently done. But I have to give him a lot of credit for this one because a lot of the shots were done in close quarters, but it was kind of like I didn't know these crew members, but I felt everything that they were going through. Do I know them by name? Absolutely not, because once you're in it, every single one of them have a fixed point. And I think that from a directing standpoint, that was key. It wasn't like, okay, all right, so the captain does this, the captain says this, captain says that, he's just this miracle man. No, everybody had to be on their tip. Everybody had to go in position to their job. And I think that they had small moments for every single small character that was in this one. And I really appreciated that according to detail because I have no idea how to actually, maneuver around the ship. But I felt like I learned something in the way that how much it takes. I knew that navigationally and certain things, it was his first mate, person that he trusts in second command. A lot of times he would tell him stuff look, I need you to go and figure this out. This man would get his compass and he would go and figure it out, do the math, work with his team, and then come back. And they had to do this so precise because this is a life and death scenario. And I think that one of the things I felt throughout is I was like, yo, anybody can get it. Anything can happen at this moment. And it's kind of everybody had to be on the key. There was one person that he was legit telling a code to the captain. And all of a sudden, he sneezed. And he tried to hold it and he couldn't. And the first thing was you do that again, you're done. And I was like, but I understand because if anybody's off by a millisecond, that's it. And it's kind of the scenario that they were in, it was terrible because throughout most of the time, you feel this overwhelming sense that the enemy has a one-up on everybody around. Yes, they are in warships, but it's not like they can dive under it and go and like, no, like you don't know where a torpedo's coming from. And the entire time, bro, the way that the director allows the enemy to kind of be like this entity, you never see one actual person that is an actual enemy, but you feel their presence. You hear their voice through the comms. And I'm not going to spoil anything about that, but when the enemy ships, like the actual wolves ships come up, like I tell you, that's where the composer and the composition for this, there's a distinct sound. It feels like almost like Jurassic Park, where you know, like when a T-Rex is coming, like you know something's bad. This had a specific score and a sound for it. Like the whole beginning up until the second act, like I was like anxiety filled because every single time, like I was like, yo, it's like a Jaws moment. Like it felt like an animal in the water. It was just like preying off and hunting and hunting and hunting and killing and killing. And it was rough, man. Like it was kind of like, normally to give you that kind of sensation, like you have to have like X amount of people killed that you know, X amount of people, like it's not like that. This one, this is not a Pearl Harbor situation. Like no, like the surrounding forces were, if you really paid attention to the very beginning of it, the whole point was to preserve life, preserve the people that were being transported out, and the supplies to be able to end this war effectively. And it's kind of like it was rough for anybody that was on the Greyhound. It was a lot. Tom Hanks was an actual writer on this one. Like he did the screenplay, and this is actually co-op from the novel The Good Shepherd, I guess, done by C.S. Forster. It's very, very good story. But Elizabeth Sue was the love interest I was telling you about. Her name in this one, it mistaken me. I can't get it. But she, I mean, for the amount of moments she had, I think she did a really good job for it. But, bruh, Tom Hanks, he is such a, not just a charismatic actor, but he can go full tilt on like the stern, solid character that, like, you know, is unrelenting. But he knows how, there's one thing about Tom Hanks that I can say effectively. He knows how to emotionally connect with his audience. In some way, shape, or form, it might be the smallest thing of comedy, it might be the smallest thing of sincerity, it might be some form of empathy. With this one, like, you can tell, like, he has a resonant love for everybody. It's not just respect, it's legit love, but he understands his role, and that if nobody gets it, like, he has to be a fixed point. As well as he also has a very strong belief system. Like, he seems to be a believer, and he seems to be consistently using a lot of different quotes, as well as acknowledging like his prayers and just trusting God through a lot of this, because it really was back and forth throughout. Stephen Graham plays, like I said, like his first in command. He does a really good job with the role that they were giving him. They actually allowed my man that plays the role of Turk in most of the Marvel Cinematic movies or shows on Netflix, Rob Morgan, as a role of Cleveland. They did a really special thing with his character. The thing is, bro, like, he is just in there. He is like making names for himself. Like, he is all over the place with different movies, and I think that his presence in this one was really good. Lee Norris, if anybody's a One Tree Hill fan or like Boy Meets World fan, like, he makes an appearance in this one. Shout out to my man Mal. But as far as the film is concerned, the way that it was actually constructed, I thought it was very good. I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was engaging. I didn't miss a step. And one thing that I didn't talk about enough was the score. The atmospherics for this were great. But another big thing with it, it's a two-hand fold of the atmospherics when it comes to the score and the feeling of anxiety mixed with the great VFX. Bro, it was never a point that I kind of was like, yeah, some of these were like definitely shot in the real. Like, some shots maybe were actually done on an actual rig, but the VFX in this, the visual effects were amazing. Like, they were so freaking good. Like, I was like, yo, Apple TV Plus is just killing the game right now. And honestly, this makes me so much more excited for their new feature show that's coming out that I can't wait for. I'm not going to bring it up in this one, but either way, as far as if you want to see a really good movie, this is it. Like, I think that you're going to find a lot of enjoyment with it. I give it a 9 out of 10 easily. Out of all the movies I've seen this year, like, I think this one and The Invisible Man are ones that are some of my favorites so far. So I'm really curious to see what will also entice me and, you know, get me really excited. I mean, I definitely give it a shout out to, you know, what your man Spike Lee did with The Five Bloods, but it was something really special about this one that I don't know if it was Hank's screenplay, I don't know if it was the way that it felt atmospherically different, you know. It was just something familiar about it, but something very fresh and vigor and anxiety feeling. And at the same time, by the end of the movie, I still had the same lingering anxiety. I questioned stuff towards the third act, and I was kind of like, yo. But I think that this will grow on me. I think I'm going to let my wife see it and see how she really feels about it. So the score might change, but this is easily a 9 out of 10 for me. Definitely go and check out Greyhound on Apple TV Plus if you get a chance. Keep it locked. JVS, we ain't gonna stop. Definitely go and check out our other critic on this channel, Lucas Moore's commentary on it as well. Definitely go and give that a like and leave your comments on what you think about the movie. Peace, guys.